It's time for another episode of The Player and the Journalist, hosted by Karson Harris and David Vick. Karson is a former All American at Drexel, the program's all time leading goal scorer, and the CAA's leader in draw controls. I'm a journalist covering women's lacrosse since 2019 and the founder of Lacrosse Extras. In this episode, we make predictions for the 2024 NCAA women's lacrosse season. Karson Harris, former All American. The season's around the corner. How are we feeling?
We're feeling good. It snuck up on me this year. I feel like January went by so much faster than I was expecting it to be. And I meant to actually look before this. Like, I need to know when I don't know when the first game of the season is, but it's got to be close. Like February 10th, maybe?
I
Something
think
like that.
February 9th, I want to say.
Wow. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so it's good. Except for the Ivy League. They always start a week later for some reason. I'm not sure why, but.
Yeah. Drexel doesn't start till like the 17th, I think, this year or something.
Oh, really?
That's kind of late too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, their first game is against Penn, then, if that's their first. Because Penn's first game is
Oh,
against Drexel.
then maybe they're playing Binghamton. And I think they said they're playing Binghamton, though, in like 20 days. So maybe it's
Oh,
the 10th. Then maybe that is the
okay.
9th and 10th weekend. Never mind.
We'll get back on track. Also, if you are watching this, we're going to start uploading these to YouTube. And today, Carson's heat is out, and I am not feeling well. So if we look like crap, that is why. No judgment over here. Okay. So we have conference champs to predict, award winners, and top five teams. We have a lot to get to. So, starting with the A10, Karson, who is your pick to win that conference?
My pick is Richmond.
Oh,
Um,
bad pick to
and
start off.
I know, I figured, but I picked it because it was weird, and I could be wrong about this, but it looks like the co-offensive player of the year for UMass tried to went into the transfer portal and then didn't end up transferring. Like she was in the transfer portal after the season, like in 2023, but she's still on their roster for 2024. And so I was kind of going between Richmond and UMass. And then I was like, that's just bad juju. Like, if you put yourself in the transfer portal and then you're like, actually, no, I'm coming back, and you're like your team's leading goal scorer, I was just like, I didn't love the juju that was putting on that team's like whole vibe. And
Who is this?
so I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. I can look for you while you talk.
Okay,
But
well,
she was
you
in the transfer
look.
portal, and then she's back. Now she's back. So then I was like, I don't know, don't love the juju, so that's why I picked Richmond. Plus, I always love Richmond, so
Okay.
that's my pick.
Well, I hate to disagree with you right off. Well, I don't hate to disagree with you, of course. But so Richmond lost three key players in the transfer portal. Arden Tierney transferred to Notre Dame. She led the team in points and draw controls. She had 189 draw controls. Then Lindsey Frank also transferred. She went to Northwestern. She led the team in goals, had 74 draw controls, and was second in points. And then Sophia DeCenzo, she graduated. So that's three of their top five players from last year gone. Are you talking about bad juju? Well, if you ain't got the talent, that's bad juju. Okay. So
Fair.
I am going with UMass on this one. I hope Richmond has a good season, but I think UMass takes back over the A10 this season.
Fair.
Did you find the player name?
No, I stopped looking,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was.
Well, we
Go
will
ahead.
come back. We'll come back to that. Okay. Moving
Oh, I
on to
think
the.
it was Fiona McGowan. Wait, that was in 20. Never mind. I might have even looked at the wrong thing. I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Hey, Karson. Last year we did not do good. This episode we had some wrong teams and the wrong conferences, so we got to get it together. Okay.
There's too many things that go on. The transfer portal makes it too hard.
Okay. So are you still sticking with Richmond?
Yeah.
Okay. Stubborn, Karson, stubborn. Anyways, ACC, I'm going to go with BC to repeat. Who you got?
I said this was a crapshoot. I don't know why we even bother trying to predict what the ACC has up its sleeve because we're always wrong and everything always goes haywire. But I said UNC because I doubted them last year. I didn't think they were going to be that good. I didn't think they had any star players, and I was greatly mistaken. They played insane. They still had that same high-powered offense. So I just decided I wasn't going to doubt them this year because they still have they're deep. They have Emily Knowles still. They have Brooklyn Walker Welch. They still have Alyssa Long. They still have their key players that they had last year, and they also have Chloe Humphrey now. So I feel like I just wasn't going to doubt them this year. they have everything they had last year and more, I feel like. So I went with UNC this year. I think they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder.
I almost went with UNC, but I don't know. I just thought BC, they have Dolce back, Dulce. I'm going to figure out how to say her name at some point. They have her back for her second year in Cage. Obviously, they have Bell Smith coming back. I
They're
just
getting
feel
the
like,
Pinto, which was almost my reason. But then I was like, I don't
yeah.
know if she's going to be enough.
Well, they got Rachel Clark too,
True. I forgot they got Rachel Clark too.
which I think Rachel Clark will have more of an impact than Lapinto.
I agree.
But we'll see. I don't know. It should. I think BC. I don't know. I think they should win it. But when you get into the ACC tournament, it's so competitive, and it's always. It seems like it's always at least the past few years, UNC and BC, but also Notre Dame has a lot coming back this year. And I feel like for them, if it's not this year, then when is it going to be? So look
Yeah.
out for the Irish.
Yeah. I just feel like I always doubt those. Like, I always want it to be a switch up, and then it just never is. So I decided to just keep it simple this year for all my picks, really.
So yeah, I think it'll come down to those three. And I'm sorry if I'm just missing Syracuse, but their coaching staff cannot be trusted. So, anyways, moving on to the America East. I'm going with Vermont. Who are you going with?
I went with Albany because now maybe they had a ton of players leave or whatever. I honestly, that's too hard for me to keep up with. You're better at that than I am. But I went with Albany because they won their conference last year and they upset Virginia in their NCAA game. And I just felt like they ended on such a high last year that it's kind of like their conference to lose. I felt like they should be able to take that momentum. That was like that's a huge like program season and carry that through this year. And like, I don't think that was like the peak. Like, I feel like they still have more to go. So I think I put my money in them continuing that momentum this season.
That's not a bad pick, Karson. I almost went with them. This is also, I feel like last year I crapped on the American East by calling them the America East by calling them the America Least. I'm not going to do that this year, okay? Because they have some good teams. It's a competitive conference. Obviously, Albany winning that tournament game last year was a huge thing for the conference, especially since last year was their first year without Stony Brook. And so Albany, it's definitely they're the team now, at least entering 2024 in the America East. But I'm going with Vermont. Vermont has so much coming back. And Ava Vasile, I love watching her play. She is so good. I've seen her since she was a freshman. I believe she's either a senior this year or a graduate. I can't remember which one, but she is so good. She is just so good. I love watching her play. And also, Albany did lose Sarah Fox. She transferred to Florida. And with her departure, they lost 72 goals. That's a lot of goals to make up. Shanley Wallace also graduated. That's 51 goals. However, what they have going for them, Katie Rowan and her coaching staff, they have Katie Pascal back, okay? And she was their best all-around player last year. She had 4 goals in the NCAA tournament win against Virginia, and she's going to be amazing. She's going to be great. So I feel like it's going to be Albany or Vermont, I would think. But it's also one of those conferences where I would not be surprised if someone else came out and possibly won. Because once you get into tournament time, I feel like all the teams are so close. Do I think Vermont and Albany are the two best? Yes, but I think there's not a whole lot of separation, so any team can win on any given day, in my opinion.
I agree. And I also think like as I was preparing for this, I was looking at like regular season games versus like the championship games. And what you find is that like so I think I'm going to say it later with a different team, but like you can beat a team by 10 goals in regular season and they can make the adjustments and you can lose by 1 in like a conference championship. So it's so hard. Like it comes down to like who can make the adjustments they need to, whose game plan is easier to stop, like, and who you can like kind of do that with. And that's why I was thinking Albany's like confidence might be good for them in that sort of situation because they've won and they've been there. But yeah, I agree. It gets hard during the season to predict all of that. I think picking regular season champions would be a lot easier than conference champions.
That I would agree with that, but that's not as fun. That's not as challenging.
No, I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that's like that we make this harder on ourselves because anything can happen. And
Okay,
championships.
we love a good challenge. Okay, who do you have winning the American Conference? I'm guessing you either have Florida or JMU.
I do, and I have JMU.
Ooh,
because
okay.
Florida lost Lopinto, first of all. That's a pretty big hit for them. Second, Isabella Peterson is still coming back to JMU, and she was an All-American for preseason All-American first team. People just can't seem to stop her. Like she
91 goals last year.
Yeah, people just can't seem to figure out how to stop her. And I also thought, like, since JMU lost to them last year in the AAC championship by like I think it was 8-9. Yeah, it was like 1 goal. That they're gonna have a pretty big chip on their shoulder because they beat Florida in regular season. This is what I was talking about. They beat Florida in regular season. They lost 8-9 in the championship. Like, I feel like that gives you a chip on their shoulder, and JMU's like not a team to let that go easily. I feel like, so that's why I picked JMU.
So this one was one of the hardest ones I had, or one of the hardest times I had picking. I wrote in all caps in my notes, "This is so hard." As you said, Florida won 9-8 in the last year's conference championship game. They're both losing some key players. Both of them have to replace their goalies. Sarah Resnick is gone from Florida. Kat Buchanan is gone from JMU. So whoever replaces the goalie better could very well be the one that wins this game or wins this conference. However, you mentioned Emma Lopinto going. Honestly, I think she's a little overrated. She's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. They're getting Sarah Falk in return, who I just mentioned from UAlbany, and so it'll be interesting to see how she transfers into a slightly better conference. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but the reason I ended up basically I went with Florida. Let me say that the reason I went with Florida is because until I see JMU give more support around Isabella Peterson, I can't trust them offensively. Defensively, they're going to be really good. But crazy statistic here for you. Last season, JMU only had 2 players score 24 goals or more. Isabella Peterson had 91. Ty Jankowski had 53. Ty Jankowski is gone. So that means the second most goals on the team that's returning was 23, I want to say. That is a huge gap.
I agree.
They need some help.
I think that's why this is so crazy that no one can stop her. Because, like, why can you not stop? Like, she's the only one. I can't figure it out. And I was part of it. Like, we couldn't do it either. And I just, like, I can't figure it out, which is why I feel like I have so much faith in her because, like, it doesn't make sense. Tactically, that doesn't make sense that she should be able to score 91 goals and no one else can support her. Like, I agree with you. It doesn't make sense, but somehow she's still doing it. And, like,
well, I trust her. I just don't trust the players around her until they show me that they can be trusted.
No,
they just
that's
need
fair.
More depth. They need more depth, scoring depth.
That's fair. No, I can't argue with that. But I also feel like, back to your goalie point, I was just thinking, like, what was their goalie's name that just left?
Which one? Kat Buchanan at
JMU? Yeah. So she was a pretty good goalie for them, right? And then they had like Molly Dougherty before that, who was an amazing goalie for them. So I feel like there's something cooking at JMU with goalies. Like, I don't know who's coming up with her, but I feel like that's 2 like very strong people in goal back to back. So I feel like they might win just the goalie battle. I feel like they might win just based on their history, but we'll see.
They might win the goalie battle. And you're right, JMU. Shelly Clays always has that defense humming. So this was a tough one. I'm excited to see this play out during the regular season and conference championship time. So that'll be fun. So we've made 4 picks so far. We disagreed on all 4.
Oh my God, you're right.
Okay, I think we might disagree on this one too, because I think you're gonna go with a favorite. Who do you have for the ASUN?
Oh yeah, I did. I went for Jacksonville, but I wrote there. This is normally a no-brainer, but it wasn't for me this year because like Liberty did give them a run for their money last year. So I did recognize that, but when we talk about conference and how anything can happen, I feel like the team that has a lot of the most experience, the team that's normally in those situations, the team that like have been there before and won it is typically the one who wins until they don't. Then all of a sudden they don't, and then that's the upset, right? But I just didn't have it in me to pick Liberty this season because of the Jacksonville like reign, basically. But I I can see where, if that's what you're gonna say, I can see how you said that. I just
Listen,
didn't have enough
Karson.
confidence in him yet.
Give me Cammy Merkel and the Liberty Flames. Okay, that's who's gonna win this conference in 2024. I'm telling you right now. Also, part of it is because Jacksonville lost Sarah Elms. They lost Lauren Kraft. Those are two. I believe they were both. I know Sarah Elms was a fifth year. I believe Kraft was a fifth year. Two attackers for them that scored a million goals for them over the past few years. They've had some adversity this offseason, but Liberty has so much coming back. And you mentioned that they lost by 1 last year. They were a pipe away from winning that game. A pipe on a free position. They were a pipe away. Cammy Merkel's going to lead the way. She's also from Cumming, Georgia, and went to South Forsyth, West Forsyth, one of the Forsyth high schools, which is very close where my dad lives. So I'm rooting for you, Cammy. I hope you listen to our podcast. If you don't, it's all good. I'm still rooting for you. So anyways, Cammy Merkel and Liberty, they're going to win the A-Sun. Guaranteed. But Jacksonville could win. Take off the guarantee. Jacksonville could win.
Yeah, no, I told you this year. I was over trying to pick the like upsets. I was like, I'm done with it. I tried last year, and if I'm not confident the upset's gonna happen, I didn't pick it because I was like, I'm tired of picking things and then being disappointed. So
Karson, you need to be a little more courageous. Let me tell you. Okay.
listen, I was last year, and then we were wrong. I was so wrong. Like I think my entire top 5 was wrong last year, so I didn't do it this
Speak
year.
for yourself. I only had number 1 wrong.
Oh.
Okay. Anyways, Big Ten. I think we can both agree on this one.
Yeah.
And we'll just move right along. Northwestern. Okay.
Yeah. They have like
We are in
everybody.
agreement for the first time. Okay. Big East. Are we also in agreement on this one?
I have Denver.
I have Denver. Okay.
Well, unless you went somewhere crazy on me, which I wouldn't be surprised about, but
So obviously we both agree on Denver. I have just a few tidbits of information I want to point out. Sam Thacker, Bryn McCauley, Anna Palmisano, Trinity McPherson. All 4 of their starting defenders are back. And they had the best defense in the country last year. They had the best defender in the country in Sam Thacker. All signs point to this defense somehow, someway, being even better. Also, their goalie's back, Bo Hyatt. So this defense, if you thought they were good last year, they might be an all-time defense this year. Okay. I mean, legit. This defense is going to be insane. They also added a few transfers to their offense. I believe 2 from Yale. And they have Lauren Gilbert back. They have Black back. Their offense can't be worse than it was last year. I'm sorry. It just can't be worse. So I think Denver, not only are they poised to win the Big East again, they are poised to do better in the NCAA tournament this year, which is going to be hard to do because going to the Final Four is very challenging. But I think this team overall will be better this season. Okay, Big South. Did you go with the Mercer Bears, my alma mater?
I did, actually. I did.
I'm glad someone did because I didn't.
Really? I just said because they didn't. I was looking at their like schedule from last year and their scores, and like they didn't just beat teams last year. Like they smacked them. Like they annihilated like pretty much everybody. And I was like, okay, like who'd they lose? Is that a possibility? But they distributed the ball. So like their offensive production was so distributed last year that they had so many different people scoring goals for them that I was like, I just didn't see how someone came out of the woodworks after they beat everybody so badly last season and also feel like they have the ability to like produce in such a variety of ways. So I went with Mercer.
Before I explain why I did not pick the Mercer Bears, Coach Eustace is a great coach. He's had that program doing. I mean, they've won conference championships like a number of years in a row now across 2 different conferences. However, Campbell last year I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but they had a better year than people expected. They only lost by a single goal to Mercer in the conference championship. Okay, a single goal on the road at Mercer in the conference championship. Also, Mercer lost. Let's see, Shannon Urey on attack. She was in top 5 goals per game. That's on our graphic we just posted. She transferred to Arizona State. They had a few 5th years that graduated, and so I just think this is the year for Campbell. They have Bischoff coming back, who probably going to win Player of the Year in the Big South. She's amazing. Also, we've talked about offense a lot, but defensively, they have Rebecca Taylor coming back for her 5th year. She started all 4 years. They have Chandler Stewart coming back for her 5th year on defense. She's going to be a 4-year starter this year. They have their goalie coming back. I mean, they have everything you need. They have consistency in the coaching staff. I just don't see how Campbell does not get it done this year, especially fueled by the fire of that 1-goal loss last year and seeing the emotions on their faces. They were 1 goal away. Well, I guess they lost 1. So 2 goals away from going to their first NCAA tournament probably ever. So I think this is the year for Campbell. I think I would not be surprised if Campbell finished the season with like 2, 3, maybe 4 losses. I mean, they're going to win a lot of games this year. So I'm taking Campbell. The Fighting Camels. Best nickname in the sport.
All right. I think, yeah, I just think it's tough because it's really hard to beat a team twice, right? And it's...
Mercer beat them twice last year?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to beat a team twice. And so they did beat them twice last year. And the first time was only a week before the second time. So they basically played them 2 weekends in a row. And beat them 14-11, beat them 8-9. So I agree that 1-goal loss, but I think the 1-goal loss looks a lot better than it might have actually been because of that sort of like back-to-back sort of thing going on. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying...
I appreciate you sticking up for Mercer for the first time ever on this show. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I think if anybody's going to do it, it's Campbell. I just think they were put in a hard situation last year. But
if you do not take at least one non-favorite, I feel like you're going with everyone that won the conferences last season. I need you to branch out a little bit, Karson.
Listen, that's what happens. I did it because that's what happens. There is a best team in the conference, and almost every single time they win. There's upsets. I'm not saying there's not upsets, but if I'm picking to be right, I got a way higher percentage chance if I'm picking the people who won last year than the people that didn't win last year.
You are correct, but that is lame. That is a lame approach.
Okay? Yeah, but when I'm wrong, you also make fun of me. So I either am wrong or I'm lame. I don't have a win. I can't win.
False. That is false. Sorry, I accidentally muted my headset and I was trying to, and it was like muted in my ear, and then it said unmuted. So I was a little frazzled there. Listen, if you had a little diversity, some upset and some favorites, then there would be no made fun of. Okay, but you make fun of me when I'm wrong too, so it goes both ways. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't tell you you're lame when you go with the right option.
I think that's the first time I've ever called you lame. Okay, so let's not make it seem like it's in every episode occurrence. Okay, CAA. Is Drexel going to get it done, Karson?
No, I said it's fortunately for my Dragons. It's probably Stony Brook. I
agree. You know, I want Drexel to win because I love Corinne Bednarik. I love watching Jenica Kuoko. Okay. I feel like, I don't know, kind of the same, like I said earlier in the show. If not now, then when is my thing with Drexel. I'm not picking them. I'm just saying, if not now, then when. You're not going to get a Corinne Bednarik next year. Probably not.
Yeah.
One might emerge. You never know. Jenica Kuoko is the best goalie they've had in recent memory. They have consistency in their coaching staff this year. All 3 are back from a season ago. I hope they will get it done. Unfortunately for them, I'm going with Stony Brook because they are freaking loaded.
Yeah,
Stony Brook is loaded and experienced. They have 9 graduate students. They have 8 seniors and 6 juniors. Okay, this team is freaking loaded. I don't know how they're number 10 in the USA Mag poll. I mean, they are freaking loaded. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying that, but you get the point. Okay, they're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Who you have winning the Ivy?
UPenn.
Hey!
Do we agree?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Yeah, because this is another one that I was saying. Like they only beat Yale in OT in the championship, so it's like, oh, could be Yale, but they beat Yale by 10 in the regular season, so it's kind of like, okay, yeah, am I gonna take Yale because they they lost in championship? No, because they got their butt kicked in regular season. So it's like it's just about how you can adjust, and like maybe they can adjust better than UPenn, but I wasn't ready to take that chance on my pick.
Yeah, Nikki Miles and UPenn, they're gonna be good. They're gonna win at least one
They also
NCAA
have
tournament
3
game.
preseason All-Americans, which is a
They
lot
have
for
3?
Penn.
Oh wow, I didn't know they had. Is one of them their goalie, Van Hosen?
Let me look. I need to start writing names down.
She is really good. I think. So I thought you were gonna go with Princeton, honestly, just because they're like the classic pick. I feel like. Princeton should be good.
It was Anna Brandt, Izzy Rohr, and Nikki Miles, an attacker,
Okay.
midfielder, and defender.
Well, Kelly Van Hosen, their goalie, is really good. So, let me see. What was I about to say? Oh, I think Princeton. So they have one of the best goalies in the nation statistically coming back, who was only a freshman last year. So Princeton's going to be good in cage. They've just struggled to replace their key players over the past few years that have graduated, going back to Katie George from, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. I just think, I don't know, they've got talent, but I don't think they're as good as Penn. And I would also take Yale over Princeton as well. I think Yale,
Me too.
I mean, they lost by 1 last year, and they were also a pipe away. I mean, so I think, I don't know. I think Penn, but don't be surprised if Yale wins it. They had some goalie health issues last year, and so much so that they had to bring one goalie over from the field hockey team who hadn't played goalie in lacrosse since high school. Okay, and they still finished, I think, 11-7, somewhere around there, and they started the season really strong. They faded big time down the stretch. So I think Yale could very easily win this. I think it'll be Yale and Penn in the championship game. And we'll see. I'll take Penn, but I honestly hope both of them make the NCAA tournament because to have 2 teams from the Ivy make the NCAA tournament would be pretty cool.
That used to be so common. COVID literally destroyed that league. I feel bad for them. COVID wrecked the Ivy League.
Yeah. Well, hey, good thing for them the 5th year is going away, so that'll help put them on par a little bit. So Karson, who do you have winning the MAC?
I have Fairfield winning because they beat everyone pretty good last year. They lost by 1 goal to Niagara, who wasn't really that consistent, so I don't think you can expect a conference win from them. So kind of like what I said earlier, I think it's Fairfield's conference to lose.
That is the truth, if you've ever said anything truthful, because they've won 5 conference championships in a row. They're going for 6. I don't see them. I mean, the past 2 seasons that Fairfield has made the NCAA tournament, they've been very competitive in the NCAA tournament. So this year, maybe they get that elusive NCAA tournament win. So yes, I think they will win the MAC. I love saying that. Hold on, I messed that up. The MAC. There we go. They lost some key draw control players, so they'll have to replace that. But their most exciting player, in my opinion, is Elizabeth Toledo. Super fun to watch. She's back as a grad student. If you like seeing goals, then you're gonna like watching Toledo play. Okay, so I'll take Fairfield as well. Moving on to the regular MAC, not so fun to say. I got Central Michigan because is that who you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good pick, Karson. Good pick. I approve.
Thank you.
So I don't know what your logic was on this, but mine was that, well, they've won the past few, and last year, if you look at the conference standings were very close. Then you get to the conference tournament, and they completely just mollywopped. I don't remember who the opponent was, but in the conference championship game, just freaking mollywopped. Okay, so I'll take Central Michigan again.
Yeah, my reasoning was kind of similar that that conference is literally all over the place. Everyone was beating everyone and winning and losing and all of this stuff, and I just felt like there was so much going on. And then Central Michigan had when they won really, really big, and then when they lost, they only lost by a goal or 2. So I was like, that just feels like a hump that they have to get over. Mm-hmm. But they did kind of seem like they caught their stride at the end of last season, winning the championship. So yeah, I just kind of seemed like a conference of turmoil, to be honest. And it seemed like Central Michigan was I don't even want to say the most consistent because they still had those like 1 or 2 goal losses.
I think they are the most consistent.
But yeah, like when they won, at least they won big. There was no doubt that they were like beating those teams. So that's why I ended up choosing them.
Yes, and I would also like to invoke a key memory from last year when I picked Eastern Michigan in their first year to win the MAC, and they finished dead last in the conference. So
that's why I avoid those kinds of picks.
I was drinking the Eastern Michigan Kool-Aid. Okay, I was on something last year. Okay, so you're gonna love my next pick. Okay, who do you have winning the NEC, which has like 1 million teams in it, by the way?
Sacred Heart. I'm sure.
I'm sorry, who?
Sacred Heart. Didn't they win it? They went 8-0 in conference play last year.
Listen, Karson.
How do you not pick that?
Lemoyne is in their conference this year. Lemoyne's first season as a D1 team.
That went so well for you last time. You picked that.
Okay, whoa, wait a second now. Okay. Lemoyne actually had a team before making the jump to D1. Eastern Michigan, last year there was their first season ever. Okay. Lemoyne has been a powerhouse in the lower divisions. Okay. They're making the jump. I think, listen, I'm definitely more confident in this than I was the Eastern Michigan pick last year. Okay. I think Lemoyne, I think they get it done. That's just my opinion. They might not, but they're going to be very competitive. Believe that. Okay, Karson.
I again think Sacred Hearts, it's their conference to lose. Now, maybe that is because they have a new team coming in who could take it away from them, but I do think it's their conference to lose is kind of what my thought process was.
Yeah, the Dolphins are coming for them. The Lemoyne Dolphins.
Just maybe.
Okay, Pac-12. We have 2 more, Pac-12 and Patriot. Who do you have for Pac-12?
You're probably going to hate this one too, but I have Stanford because I feel like it's either Stanford or USC every year. They always go back and forth. I never really know which one's better. My literal note for this is I don't have a reason, but I'm going to go with my gut and say Stanford, which I think actually might have been exactly what I said last year. I just feel like it's so back and forth. I chose Stanford.
Are you familiar that Stanford had a down year last season? Do you remember that?
Yeah, but they were still second in their conference, I think.
Well, yeah, the conference wasn't very strong last year. Okay. I'm going to go with USC.
You always pick the other one that I'm debating between and then act like it's this crazy thing that I picked. It's like a 60-40 chance one wins over the other. And like, I thought you were going to say something crazy.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go with San Diego State to win the Pac-12. Okay.
Right.
Listen, my first reason for going with USC is because Lindsay Monday. She's entering her 12th season. Obviously, Stanford has consistency with Danielle Spencer as their head coach as well. But we mentioned Stony Brook being loaded, okay, out east. I think out west, as far as the Pac-12 goes, USC is loaded, okay. Shelby Tilton, Ella Haney, Claudia Shevitz, Kate Dever, and they added Nicole Humphrey from UNC. True. And not only did they add a Humphrey, Stanford lost a Humphrey, okay? So I'm going with USC. Stanford, they should be good. They should be really good. I just think USC is going to be better.
Yeah. No, I think that one's a crapshoot every time too, I feel like, between the two of them.
And every time you pick wrong. I'm just joking.
I need to start looking at what I picked last year before we do these so I know how right I was.
Yes, we will maybe we'll even do a graphic on Instagram to see who was right on, or see how bad, or then we'll see how we did. Anyways, okay, last one. The Patriot League has run through Loyola for a number of years now. Will it run through them again in 2024?
I think so. I mean, maybe Army comes out of nowhere, but I just think Loyola's.
I agree. Strong. I was like, I was thinking Army, but I'm like, until you beat the team, you can't be the team.
So. Well, that's what I said about the other one too, and then you told me I was crazy. That's about Jacksonville.
Yeah, but Jacksonville lost a lot. Loyola still has Sydney Black, have Lauren Spence Cage. They lost Katie Detweiler, and then they lost number 7, who did everything for them. I can't remember her name. So they do have some. key players to replace, but it'll be interesting. Okay, so out of the 4, 8, 12, 15 conferences, we agreed on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's not bad.
Yeah, we started off over the first 5, but then we picked it up on our agreements.
We did pick it up. That's good. I'm glad.
Awesome. Moving on to topic number 2, award winners. This one I know we're both we're gonna have some of the same answers, so I apologize in advance to people listening, because the Tewaaraton national champion, I'm sorry, but I just feel like 99% of the women's lacrosse world is going to be picking the same thing for them. So Karson, I will let you go first.
Yeah. So I picked Izzy Skane, obviously, for Tewaaraton, and I was like, it's really boring. That's a horrible answer. But then, like, she has all the power to do it again. And the thing is, like, your team has to make a deep run to be on the Tewaaraton, like, to win the Tewaaraton, right? And, like, I was looking at the preseason, like, first team All-Americans, and, like, Isabella Peterson, amazing player, but she's on JMU. Like, they're not going to make it far enough for that. Like, Brooklyn Walker-Welch, like, she's on a team that can make a deep run, but she's a defender. A defender hasn't won since 2003. Like, unfortunately, the world we live in, that's an impossible task.
And 2003 was the only time.
Yeah, so, like, that's tough. And, like, Schweitzer for Syracuse is good, but I don't trust Syracuse to make a national championship, like, run. And so I just think that, like, she's got the best chance of there's really good players out there that can stand up against her, but I don't think they're on powerhouse teams like Northwestern, and that's why she's going to win again, was kind of my thought.
So what's interesting about the Tewaaraton is if you look at the NBA, for example, their MVP award, they give it out, like, I think they take the votes after the regular season. So it's a regular season award. They don't count the playoffs, which is dumb. If you look at the Heisman for college football, they don't count the bowl games, which I think is dumb. In women's lacrosse, they count the postseason. I believe they announced the finalists prior to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So, but everything, like, a lot of the postseason impacts the Tewaaraton finalists, which I think is how it should be.
Yeah, I don't know though, because then a lot of those bigger names at smaller schools never get a chance. Like, then it's like, because you know what I mean? Like, Izzy Skane's not doing it by herself. Like, if she was on a team that was like if she was on JMU, for example, like, they still wouldn't go win a national championship. So it's hard. Like, I can see it takes the small guys out of it, their chance to win, you know?
You gotta man up like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, but then it also kind of encourages transfer portal, because
that is true.
I can go big on a team that's going to be big and get my name out there when I could be, you know? So I don't know. I think, like, there's positives and negatives to both of it.
That's true. Okay, so I also have Izzy Skane. Do we both have Northwestern winning the national championship?
I put North Carolina because no one's won it back-to-back since Maryland in 2015. And the game of women's lacrosse has changed so much since 2015 that, like, sure, they're the easy answer and they probably will win it. But winning it back-to-back is really, really, really hard to do. And so that's why I said North Carolina, just because I think, like, is there a 60, 70% chance Northwestern wins it again? Like, probably.
I would say like 85, 90.
I don't know, though. I don't know. It's just really hard to win back-to-back because you are the team to beat. Like, they weren't the team to beat last year. They were the team that was grinding to win, you know? And so, like, it becomes a lot harder when those roles are reversed, especially with the shot clock now. And, like, the shot clock didn't even exist in 2015 in college lacrosse. Like, so I feel like that's the only reason I chose something different, because, like, I think that winning it back-to-back is that's the only niche in their armor. Like, that's the only little chink in their armor that would make them not win, is just simply that.
I see where you're coming from, and I would agree with you if they didn't have so much leadership on the team. Manuel Liberty, back for her fifth year. Izzy Skane, back again. Coy Kendall, back again. Sammy White. Amante. I mean, Madison, she's only a sophomore.
Young,
so yeah.
But...
I mean, all these upperclassmen in fifth years are back, and this is their last go at it. So if they had lost a lot of players last year and they had a bunch of sophomores and juniors, then I'd say, oh yeah, maybe. But I just think if they put betting lines on women's lacrosse, which I'm glad they don't, I think Northwestern would be like minus 1,000. So like
Oh, I agree.
I mean, a huge favorite, which I think they should be. But as we saw in the NCAA tournament last year, Michigan gave them a run for their money when their offense did not show up in the first round last season.
Right.
So, I mean,
That's what I just feel like it's going to be hard. They might win it again. It's just going to be way harder for them this year than it was last year, in my opinion, simply because they've won it the year before. But
they also added Lindsey Frank, a two-sport athlete, just finished, I believe the field hockey season's over, but she plays field hockey and lacrosse. They added Mary Schumar from Marquette. I mean, I don't know. I think it's theirs. But anyways,
I agree. I think it's theirs to lose. I would agree with you that it's theirs to lose.
Okay, team that will surprise people.
I put Towson because they have had a really this I guess like a little bit of insider trading that I'm taking here, but like I just know they've had like their culture for the last like couple of years just hasn't been very good. Like they didn't have a very strong foundation with them, and they've always had really good pieces and really good players. And I'm not saying surprise people like they're going to go make a Final Four run, but I think that them getting Cookie Carr this year is a huge win for them. Like getting switching coaching staffs is a huge win for them, and I think it's exactly what they needed. Like with the exception of I think it was Loyola and Stony Brook, they lost by like max 4 goals, most of them being like a 1 or 2 goal deficit. And like, in my opinion, 1 or 2 goals doesn't come down to skill, it comes down to culture. And so I think that all of those 1 or 2 goal games like have a really big potential to be switched around this year with Cookie Carr as their head coach. And so like they were 11-7 last year. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they were 15-3. Like I bet they have like those kinds of games you start to see Towson come out of like the weeds a little bit this year, and maybe that continues to next year. But I just think that they're going to be on the up and up. I think starting this year.
I think it'll be interesting because you mentioned their new coach, and she's been an assistant coach for a long time, but I believe this is her first time as a head coach at the collegiate level. So there will be some growing pains inevitably.
Been around for so long.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being an assistant and being the person, you know?
Yeah, but I talked to she surrounded herself with really good people too. Her assistants are really are pretty like good coaches as well. So and she's a phenomenal player. So I feel like we'll see. I don't know, maybe that'll be a growing pain, but I think the culture is going to be better regardless.
We'll see. I mean, I guess we won't see about the culture. You might find out. We won't see. We'll just see how.
Well, I think we will see, because I think you'll start to see them like the games that you're kind of like, what are you doing? Start to like turn around.
I appreciate you giving a good answer on that. I say good because I was not expecting that. I don't know. I mean, there's just not a team that came to mind. But anyways,
I'm just really excited to see Carr as a coach. That's why I have been thinking about them for a long time.
Also, fun fact: I met Cookie Carr in a hotel in Westchester, Pennsylvania, a few years ago when I was an intern for the Women's Professional Lacrosse League. I think the games were rained out for whatever day, and so I went back to my hotel and I turned the corner to get an elevator, and voila, there she is. And so that's how I met her. She was in her uniform and everything. So she probably doesn't remember me. I think it's the only time I met her. But anyways, very nice person. I have 2 teams. One, I have Yale. I think it's hard to surprise people. I feel like when you go 11-7 the year before, but like I said, they fell off, and they might have the best attacker in the Ivy. I think they have one of the best attackers in America, definitely top 5. Jenna Kalignan is absolutely insane. She is so good. If you don't know the name Jenna Kalignan, you better watch Yale this year because she's going to be making some waves. The team will go as she goes, in my opinion. She's a beast, 5'10", big body, hard to stop. I love watching her play. So I've got Yale, and the second one I've got UC Davis. I think UC Davis in the Pac, so they're in the Pac-12 this year. This will be their only year in the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 is going away. And so they've had really good seasons the past few years, but they haven't been in a conference. So they just don't get the recognition. Now they're in the Pac-12 and they're going to be playing the Pac-12 schedule, but there will be more eyes on them. And I'm not saying, I don't know, I think they'll finish with a winning record. It'll definitely be tougher than years past, but they seem to have a really good, you talk about culture, they seem to have a really good culture from all things that we can see. And I don't know, I just think they've been very underrated for a long time. They have a lot, and I just think this is their year to really put their name on the map and get even better recruits going forward.
I can agree. I think I wonder, the Pac-12 disappears after this year, right? So that's kind of sad for them if they finally got in the Pac-12 and then the Pac-12 is disintegrating.
Them and San Diego State, they both got in the Pac-12 and now it's gone. So
that stinks.
Yeah.
They better make it count.
Real talk, big facts. Okay. Top 5 teams, our final topic. Karson.
So, yeah, this is super boring. Mine aren't that exciting because, again, I was like, I'm not throwing anybody crazy in the mix here and just be wrong about it. So I put North Carolina above Northwestern for the same reasons that. Well, I couldn't put North Carolina as my national champion and then put them second on my top 5 teams. That's like not.
Wait, I thought you said you were going with Northwestern to win the national championship, but if they didn't, you were going with UNC. So you're saying you are going with UNC?
No, I'm taking money on that they're not going to win 2 years in a row. I don't think that's going to happen. I think their coaches are too good to let that happen a second time in a row. But that's my hot take. You can't call me lame and then also make fun of my hot take. This is exactly what my point was. So yeah, I'm going North Carolina, Northwestern, Boston College, Denver, and then Syracuse. So I don't think there's anybody that can knock Syracuse out of it, but God only knows if they're going to be able to hang in there. And then again, Denver didn't lose anybody.
You have Denver at 3?
Yeah, 4. Boston College at 3.
Okay, I'm just writing this down. And then who was that 5? Syracuse?
Syracuse.
Okay.
Without a lot of faith.
I can't believe you put UNC. Okay. Let's see. We have, in our top 5, we have 3. We only have 3 teams that are the same, actually. Or 3 teams that are both included. At number 1, I have Northwestern, you have UNC. Number 2, I have Boston College. Number 3, I have UNC. Number 4, I have Maryland. And number 5, I have Stony Brook. And I know you're probably thinking, where in the world is Denver? I get it.
I'm more just thinking you have a lot of faith in Stony Brook.
I went over how loaded they are.
They've been loaded every year. They never make it to the Final Four, ever.
Yes, I understand that. But
maybe this is their year. If
it ain't this year, it may never happen.
They probably thought that with Kylie O'Miller, too.
Well, hey, at least with Kylie O'Miller, I believe it went to overtime with Boston College. It went to overtime. Boston College won and went to the Final Four. They were close. They were in overtime.
They were close.
Listen, I mean, they got to do it at some point. You can't be knocking on the door for 2 decades. I mean, they haven't been knocking on the door, but you get what I'm saying. I'm embellishing, but you can't knock on the door, and not break it down at some point. Okay,
you're right about that.
Unless you're the Buffalo Bills, and going to what was it, 3 or 4 Super Bowls in a row, losing all of them. I mean, Lord have mercy. That was in like the 80s or 90s or something. Anyways, okay. So yeah, I don't have Denver in just because I just don't trust their offense. Their defense is going to be amazing. Their offense, I don't trust it. And I have Maryland at 4. I think Maryland, so they have Sterling back in cage again. She's a beast. Corey Edmondson, more experience this year. Jalen Rosga, did not butcher her name that time. She's back again. I don't know. I just think Maryland will be good. And we'll see. So basically,
I put a lot of faith in Maryland last year, so they didn't, and they did horrible. So they're booted out of my heart forever.
Okay, Karson, they didn't do horrible. Okay, they just didn't go to the Final Four. They
got booted out of my heart forever. They lost my trust. They're gonna have to earn it back.
Yeah, you say that now, and then if they're in the Final Four this year, you're gonna be like, "Oh, Maryland, I'm so proud of them. That's my home team."
Well, then they earned it back. They have to earn it back. They don't have it right now. I don't have my trust.
Okay. So, anyways, we went over conference champs, award winners, and top 5 teams. Any final thoughts, Karson? As this will be our second to last episode before the season begins. Any final thoughts?
No, I don't think I have anything. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'll have to keep track of it this year, see if I do it how we do with our picks. Maybe I'll go back and look next year or for last year if I have any time. But no, I'm excited.
Sounds good. I'm excited too. And we are still figuring out who will be on our next podcast. We do not know yet. We are working on it. Also, we will have some very exciting guests coming up this season. Did you enjoy this episode of The Player and the Journalist? If so, please leave us a review and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.